and welcome to this Christmas crafts video. So today I'm going to be showing you 4 different crafts that you can do this winter season, all from the comfort of your own home. So the first craft that we're going to be doing today is dried orange garland. So of course the first thing you want to do is stick your oven on at 110 degrees for an electric oven, 90 degrees Celsius for a fan oven. So obviously what you're going to need is some oranges, whole cloves, some cinnamon sticks, some greaseproof paper, and some baking trays. And the first thing you're going to do is line your baking tray. Obviously try and make less of a hash job as I did here. Maybe use some scissors as a recommendation. And then obviously you're going to grab a chopping board and a knife. And I'm doing 2 oranges worth. You can obviously do more than this. Don't know why I rolled it. You don't have to do that. And then we're just going to slice our oranges up here. You want to do them reasonably thin. I actually did do some of mine a bit too thick. And obviously don't throw away those endy bits because you can eat them as a nice snack. So here's me showing you about how thin you want. More on the left hand side is better. So I also had some lemon I didn't think I was going to use, so I cut this up. And you can basically use any citrus fruit you like, to be honest. So yeah. We just pop that to the side and we're going to grab our baking trays now. So first of all, you're just going to line your oranges out in a row. Of course, these are not going to expand. If anything, they're going to shrink a little bit, so it doesn't matter if they are touching. And then you're just going to poke your cloves into the flesh of the orange. I think I did about 4 or 5, maybe 4 to 6 cloves per orange slice overall. And then I also just popped a few cinnamon sticks. I think it was 3 or 4 per tray, just so for baking in the oven it smells really good. And then you're gonna pop your orange slices into the oven. Watch me struggle to get this tray in. It was very difficult. My camera was in the way and I didn't notice until I'd started. And you're gonna bake these for a total of about 2 hours, but I checked mine after 1 hour just to see. So here's me struggling to set my timer on my watch. And then after an hour, I checked on them, and basically you just want to see if there's any that are like browning up too quickly, and if they are, just take those ones out and leave the rest. And then after another hour, you should be done, and you just want to take them out of the oven. And of course, turn the oven off. And once they're out, they should look something like this. Very nice, very Christmassy. So once they've cooled enough, I just pop them on a plate, and now you're going to want to get some form of twine and some scissors and measure out roughly how long you want the string to be for where you want to place it, obviously making it a little bit longer just so you've got that room to spare. And I just tied some knots at the end to make sure that the string didn't start to unravel. Then you're going to take your orange slices, and I used a pen because that was sharp enough to push through, but if you're using anything sharper, obviously just be careful. You're going to make a hole. Then you're going to thread through your string or twine, and then every time you put an orange or a slice on, just tie it so that it stays in place. And you continue doing this, and voila, you will have something that looks a bit like this. And I love these so much. They look so nice, especially when the sun shines through them, and they smell amazing. And I just did a little bit of a variation, one with orange and lemon and one with orange and cinnamon sticks. And so moving on to craft number 2, we're going to be making some homemade present tags. So the first thing you'll need is some card or paper, some paint, some string, some pens, a hole puncher, and some scissors. And the first thing I did was I took my A4 piece of card and I basically just kept folding it in half, if that makes sense. Like folding it into the line each time. You can kind of see it better than I can explain it, but essentially it ended up making a total of 16 squares, and they were the perfect size for little present tags. And then I just took my scissors and I cut along each of the lines until they all looked like this. And then I took my paints, and so for the first one you're going to use either a mustard or brown kind of colour, and some red and some white. And so basically the first thing you're going to do is use your thumb to go into the brown or mustard yellow colour, and you're going to pop that into the centre. And then take your index finger and pop it into the red, and you're going to put that towards the base of the thumb print you've just made. Not very good at explaining this. And then you're going to take the white, and I took it on my pinky finger just so it was a bit smaller, and you're going to place 2 white dots above the red dot that you have just made. So that was for the first one. Now for this one, you're going to use only white, and basically you're going to make like a grape shape at the bottom. So going 3, 2, 1, and then 3, and then one singular one just kind of off to the right on its own. So once the paint is dried, you're going to take a brown, I took a brown pen, you could do grey, brown, black, any sort of dark colour, and you're going to do 2 dots in the middle of the white circles, and then you're going to draw some lines above to make some little antlers. I decided it looked a little bit bare on this one, so I basically took my red paint again and did 3 dots and took a dark green and a lighter green pen, and I created some holly at the bottom, and I just thought that this made it look a little bit more complete. And then for your white dot one, you're going to take either a black or a grey or brown again, dark colour, and a red. And first of all, you're going to do 2 sort of little half circles upside down, and then another little half circle, and then a little dot. And then you're going to take your red pen and you're going to connect the 3 dots with the 1 dot, and voila, it's like Santa. Now you're just going to take your hole puncher and create a little hole in either the top left or top right hand corner, it's up to you. Then take your string or twine, cut the kind of length that you think that you will need, string it through the hole, and then obviously just make a knot in it so that it ties together. And there you have it. Kind of hangs like that. I'm like, wow, it hangs. And then you can obviously just write it to whoever you're giving a present to, and you can make it fancy on the back if you'd like as well, but I just decided to go plain and simple. And there you have it, 2 different homemade present tag designs that are completely recyclable as well. And now straight on to craft number 3, which is mulled cider, which despite the name is actually non-alcoholic. So first thing you're going to need is a litre of apple juice. I chose cloudy just because I prefer cloudy apple juice. 1 large orange, and you're going to need 2 apples. I used pink ladies just because that's what I had, but you could use any kind of apple would be fine. Some cinnamon sticks, and some whole cloves. So the first thing you're going to do is take your 2 apples and your cloves, and basically you're going to put your clove and pierce the cloves into the apples, and I think I did about maybe 5 or 6 per apple. You could do more, you could do less, but I just thought that that was a good amount, and it looked pretty as well. So next you're going to zest your orange, and just making sure not to go into the sort of yellow bit because that can make it quite bitter. And there's me just showing you roughly how much zest I ended up having. So now we're going to pop our apple juice into a saucepan, and then you're going to add your zest. I just gave it a mix to make sure it was all equally spread out. Your cinnamon sticks, I used 2, but of course if you'd like to use more then go ahead. And then I popped in my 2 apples. So now you're just going to put this on at a low simmer for half an hour, and you're just going to let that simmer. Make sure it doesn't over boil. And I just sort of checked on it every so often just to make sure it wasn't burning or sticking to the bottom or anything like that. But then after half an hour it was ready. It smelled absolutely delicious, and I popped it over to the side on a dish towel. There's a little hack for you to make sure you don't burn your surfaces, and I just used a little cup to scoop it out into my mug. Obviously you can garnish it and make it look pretty if you would like, but I just sort of left it in the saucepan because it was just for me. Then that was it, and this was so good. It's definitely something I'll be drinking over the winter period. It was a big thumbs up from me. And final Christmas craft we're going to be doing today is these candy cane holding gingerbread people. So first of all, you need 1 tablespoon of ground ginger and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 175 grams of dark or light muscovado sugar, 85 grams of maple syrup or golden syrup, 350 grams of plain flour, 100 grams of butter, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, and then you'll also need some greaseproof paper and some foil, and of course a gingerbread shaped cookie cutter. And finally, some candy canes. So the first thing you do is you put the sugar, the butter, and the syrup into a pan, and you kind of just like mix it all through until it is nice and melted. So it'll start off looking a bit like this, and then it'll finish off looking like that. And then you'll sort of put that over to the side until it cools for about 10 minutes. And whilst you're doing that, you can kind of weigh out your flour, put that into a big mixing bowl, add your ginger and your cinnamon into the mix as well. and of course your teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda. And I just sort of like mix them through. You don't really have to do this, but I just thought it made sense to make sure it was all incorporated. Then you go on to add your egg and your cooled but still slightly warm melted sugar, butter and syrup mixture. And then if you start sort of mixing it together with your spatula or spoon, whatever you're using, if you just mix it most of the way together with that, and then once it looks a little bit something like this, get in there with your hands and give it a little bit of a knead. And then once it's all combined together and looks a little bit something like this, you don't have to slap it like that, don't know why I did that. You then just sort of put it in the fridge to chill for about half an hour. And whilst you're waiting for this, you can turn your oven to 200 degrees Celsius for an electric oven, 180 Celsius for fan. And once you've had your mixture cooling in the fridge for about half an hour, if you just take it out and let it sit at room temperature just to soften a wee bit, and obviously whilst I did this, I just cut my parchment and put it on to the baking trays. I then just sort of lightly floured my surface just to make sure it didn't stick. Then realised I didn't have a rolling pin, so I ended up having to use my hands and other devices that I could figure out. I somehow forgot to film this, but basically, cut out your gingerbread, there you go, magic. And the next thing you're going to do is take a little bit of foil, and you're basically going to roll it until it's about the size of a candy cane, thickness wise. I'll show you in a second, I think. Yep, there you go, something a bit like that. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to pop it in the middle and fold its little arms over. Just like that. And then obviously all of a sudden there's 4, but I just pop them into the oven, and they only have to go into the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes, so it's a very short baking period. And then they will be done and look a little bit something like this. And then when it comes to taking the foil out, just be very careful. I sort of really did a little wiggling action just to make sure not to break the arms off. And then once you've loosened it, you can pull it in one direction and it will come out. And then of course replace this with the candy cane. Again, just sort of being careful not to snap the arms off, but it's actually easier than it looks because it's quite a soft cookie, and so you could kind of push down into it and it made sure that it went through the arms without snapping them. So the next step is just making a little bit of icing with some icing sugar and water. And then obviously just mix these together until you have kind of the consistency that you want. You want it a little bit thick, somewhere around this. And then hack for you all, take a little sandwich bag and fold it down. You can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm just folding it down so that it's a shorter way for the icing to go down. And then you pour your icing into the little bag. And then once you've done that, you just sort of twist it so it's all into one corner. And then snip off the very end and you've got a little homemade piping bag. Then I just took the little gingerbreads and I basically put little eyes and a little smile. Very cute. It was kind of difficult. And it looked a little bit something like this. I also had enough to make just some regular little gingerbread people. So yeah, I did a couple of them as well. And this is me just icing them, making them look very cute. And then you're all done. And I think these would make really good gifts if you wanted to put them in like nice little bags. And they tasted really yummy as well. So there you have it, guys. That is 4 Christmas crafts that you can do from home, of which could be given as gifts or just to eat for yourself or to decorate for Christmas. And they're all pretty easy. I hope you enjoyed seeing this and you got a little bit inspired. And if you do make them, then I hope you enjoy. And have a very Merry Christmas.